Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, record me. So my name is Miss Kincaid. That's fine. My name is Miss Kincaid. I'm with DCFS. I am here because we are doing a plan for your son. There's an investigation as it relates to medical neglect. And at this point, I'm doing a plan. The father agreed that he cannot be removed from this house. There'll be only supervised visits. This case is...
I'm not doing any plan.
Okay.
I have all rights to my child.
I'm telling you, okay, the father already agreed. And you can refuse. And if you refuse and he refuses, he can take the baby with him. Or we could take custody of your baby.
How can he take the baby with him?
Because at this point, we're doing a plan so the baby can stay with the grandmother so we can further investigate.
That's not
we are further, we are investigating.
So you can conclude your investigation with me. I'm his mother. I have all the rights to
him. So now we're going to have a problem. So I need to take custody of him. Is what you want me to do?
Do you have a court order saying that?
I don't need to have court order. I'm with DCFS and I have delegated authority.
You absolutely do have to have a court order.
All right, so we'll get the police involved.
The lady came in the house wrong. The lady came in the house rude, already ready to take somebody's kid. What attitude are you bringing over to my home? You know, it may be allegations against me, but that don't give you the right to step into my house and with an attitude with me. You know, allegations is as allegations. Anybody can accuse somebody of anything, but to automatically come at me and treat me as if you've already been sold on the fact that I did those things, that is unacceptable. She came in the girl's house wrong. Not to mention the father and his mother is trying to steal her baby away from her, just straight out. And they did it behind her back. She's clueless about everything. They went behind her back and put a case on her, you know. And they talking about medical neglect. Medical neglect. You know, you have the right to deny care for yourself, your child, all of that. But really, when you sign a birth certificate and get a birth certificate created for your child, then the doctors can dictate whether or not the medical needs of that child. They can tell you that you need to bring your child back at this particular time, and they can possibly put a case on you as well. In her case, the father and the grandmother is putting a case on her, and they're using medical neglect in order to steal her child away from her, which has become very common. You know, not only for, you know, it's not one particular race that this has become common for. Let's keep that in mind. But the lady, the caseworker, came in there completely out of line. She's ready to take the child away from her and give the child over to the state. Completely unempathetic for the mother who just had a baby. And you can tell the baby is brand new because everything sitting there in that front room is brand new and still in the box. So I wouldn't doubt that she just got out the hospital and brought her child home. Then they saying that the child can leave with the father. He probably don't even have a home. He probably living there with her, which is why she said some confusing stuff like the child cannot be removed from here, from this house at all. That's because the father probably lived there in the house and he want to control everything. So he wants stipulations that puts him in control in possibly her house. Then, not to mention, she said that they doing an investigation, and until the investigation is complete, possibly the baby has to stay with the grandmother, who is probably his mother. So either he's living with his mother because they confident that the baby can leave with him, or stay there with him. So he's possibly living with her and his mama. So it's becoming too common, and it ain't never nothing really majorly going on like this with the upstanding man. You know, upstanding man don't do all this, especially not at the, you know, he wouldn't do all of that. Then the baby is newborn. That dude got confidence through his mama. Complete mama's boy. Mom, I'd rather you take my baby and raise my baby, as if he had sex with his mama and got his mama pregnant.
Yeah, somebody had told me to touch on this, so I am. I think it's so motherfucking weird, cringy, and motherfucking like insane when y'all call DCFS on motherfucking people about their motherfucking kids just because y'all don't like a bitch, or just because y'all fucking with a man and that man fucking with the next bitch. Like, that's so motherfucking weird to me. Like, to call DCFS on a bitch just because you don't like her, not because she's abusing her kids, not because her kids are in a household that's unsafe or whatever the case may be, but because you such a miserable mad ass bitch motherfucking pressed over a man that you can't take a bitch, that you want to like get her in trouble. Like, y'all bitches be beyond weird. I feel like when y'all bitches play games like that, y'all be like getting y'all own karma in the long run, because y'all don't do shit like that. Some shit you just don't do. It be going too far. Some of you bitches don't have no y'all don't have no chill. Y'all bitches don't be knowing how to just like let shit go and let shit be. But y'all bitches be want to be so bitter that y'all be trying to hurt the next person, not knowing that in the long run, bitch, you gonna get your karma for that. Bitch.
So I just wanted to get on here and pose this question to other parents who have dealt with this or are still dealing with this. How do you find joy, throughout your days? Like, how do you keep the joy? And I'm not asking from like a place that's saying that like I don't have joy, but it gets hard. It definitely gets hard. I try to occupy myself. I try to, I guess, live within my new normal, because although I have children, my day-to-day with so much limited time with them looks as though I do not. So, I'm almost like having to rebuild my life and, center my newfound joy around that, which it does help, but, there's always going to be that void. So, I'm just wondering like how have other parents managed? One thing that I will say does kind of like help me is once they completely like reduced visitation and were like unwilling to increase it like by any means, I had to move, pretty far away, like not like far to where I can't drive home to see them, but I had to get out of the area that traumatized me, if that makes sense, because I felt as though the city had done so much against me in that sense of the case and the situation, to where I carried so much negative energy that I was not going to let them take any more of that energy from me. But I just want to know, like, what were some minor or drastic things that you did either during or after everything was over to keep pushing, to keep pushing throughout the situation.
If we speaking honestly, I can say that in my case, when my kids was taken out of my life, there was nothing at all that could possibly make nothing better, period. I went into immediate numbness, and I didn't know what to think, because I had to keep myself from wanting to die. So I didn't know what to think. I went straight to God, or God came straight to me. I really think God came straight to me, because I didn't, I say God came straight to me. I'm going to say God came straight to me because I really, my mind wasn't in a positive, it wasn't in a positive stance on the situation that I was in. Just being straight up, just being honest. If I answer that question that you asked honestly and correctly, how do we get by after our children has been completely stolen away from us and there is nothing that we can do? And the more time that goes by, it only gets worse, because that's time that you can never get back. And each person that played a part in the allegations that are against you, karma is gonna hit them. And that's really, for me, that's all that I thought about. And I had to pray on that and rebuke myself, you know, because you ain't supposed to want the worst for nobody. Somebody wanted the worst for me, which is why that happened to me. Not only did someone want the worst for me, multiple people wanted the worst for me. So that is why that happened to me. So two wrongs don't make a right. That's why I said I had to rebuke myself and pray the evil out of me, pray the negative thoughts out of me, pray things like that out of me, because it can try to consume you. Because I would say that it's the greatest hurt, the greatest pain that could ever happen to a woman if she loved her children, if she actually wanted to be a mother, which is why I never had nobody to talk to, because most women that was around me, like in my environment, I couldn't vent to, I couldn't talk to, because if they have went through getting their kids taken away, stolen is what I call it, kidnapped, then they actually did something to cause it to happen. So they felt guilt, they felt all these things that I didn't feel. They had a different mindset than I had on the whole situation all in itself, because I didn't do anything wrong to get my kids stolen away from me. It was just a completely unfair situation. So it is a lot of women that try to cover up wrongs. It's a lot of women that try to cover up wrongs and act like they didn't do nothing to get their kids taken or stolen away. And some people don't. I was one of them people that didn't. But when you got the wrong people around you, wishing the worst for you, wanting the worst to happen to you, will do anything in their power to cause the worst to happen to you if they can. But then you got those women who secretly don't want to be a mama. You got those women that's so hard up about the dude that got them pregnant, they crazy about him, to the point that, you know, they don't really want to be a mama. They just wanted him or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got different situations. But in this case, we only speaking on the mothers that did not do anything wrong, like me. The ones that is an amazing mother. Everybody tell you you're an amazing mother. You know you're an amazing mother. You pray for your family, you pray for your kids. You know. And then something like that happened to you. That's why you have to watch who you lay down with. If you don't know that, you know, if you don't know that person inside out, don't lay down with them. You know, that's just the only thing I can say about good mothers that end up getting with a drama king, or a mama's boy, or a man that really don't want to be a father, but also don't want to have children on this earth. You know, everybody's situation is different in that case, and it's a real sensitive topic to talk about with anybody, because everybody's situation is different. It's hard to connect with another mother, you know, who's going through the same situation. It's not the same, it's just similar. The only thing that's really similar is the fact that we both got our kids stolen. But then when you go into the details of the story, it's like, I most of the time can't rock with another mother who actually did something to cause her kids, you know, to get stolen from her. And I don't be the one to try to judge, but I just can't click with another woman who's sitting around knowing that she did something wrong and she can't admit to it, you know. But I went to God. That's the only thing I could have. That's the only one I could turn to, because I couldn't turn to family. I couldn't turn to nobody. It turns out for me, nobody ever wanted me to be a mother, you know. So the family you have is the family that you birth, and that's really all that is, you know, in some cases. Some people got very supportive families and some people don't have supportive families, and that's just what that is, you know. Sad to say. But we're going to keep this going. This other videos.
What a lot of people don't know about my CPS case is that I'm dealing with the same Department of Children and Family Services that failed Gabriel Fernandez. I live in the same exact city where Gabriel Fernandez was unalived. So because of that, they are more stricter where I live when it comes to DCFS. My kids were taken without a proper investigation. They were taken just off of reports and documents alone. They never stepped foot into my home to interview me or my children. They don't even know what the inside of my house looks like. Yes, there was a lot of police reports, but every time the police came out, they never even see my children. The police never see my children. And the times they did see, like, my baby, that's the only, out of my 3 children, that's the only one they seen. They reported inside the police reports that the baby looked fine. Baby looked like he wasn't harmed at all. So I think my kids were taking just for them to be on the safe side, because they could have left the kids in a home with an open case, and they could have, you know, supervised or, you know, just kept the kids in a home. That's what I feel like. The kids could have been kept here, and I could have been doing what I'm doing now, my classes, and they could have been coming to my home to talk to them and everything. They could have gave me some type of plan, I guess, case plan still, instead of just removing my kids like that. So the incident that my kids were taken from it happened on June 23rd, but they did not put a petition in to take my children until August 6th. I don't know how to pronounce it, but right now my case is under a prima facie case because they didn't do an investigation. They just took my kids based off of risk because of all the police calls and things that have happened. So there's way more that I can go deeper on, but I don't really have the time right now. I don't want the video to be too long, but basically that's what happened. I also want to add that me and my baby's father, the one that this incident happened with, is no longer in a home with me. He's not here. He's not here. He hasn't been here. He hasn't been here in a while. He hasn't been here the whole time the kids were taken. He has not been here with me. So I feel like the risk is gone. Like, me and him are not even together. That my kids should be here with me, and they could be watching me or whatever they want to do with a case and make me go to the classes like I'm doing now and everything. But I feel like there's no reason for my children to remain at my home. He's not here at all. He hasn't been here. But I don't know. I am literally, he's not even on the lease here. It's just me. I'm on Section 8. It's just me and my 3 kids on my Section 8. So I don't understand why they can't be here with me when there's no other issues besides of the problem was him as a risk to my children, ongoing risk or whatever. He's not even here. So I don't know. But I'm still doing everything they asked me to do to get my children back. I just feel like it could have been a case plan or something with my children still in the home. That's just how I feel. And I also feel just because it's the same DCFS that failed Gabriel Fernandez, that they're more strict than other places might be. Hold up. Also, I need to add this really fast. My kids were taken also based off because I didn't make myself available to them. I didn't talk to them. They never talked to me or my children. So that was the reason alone that they took my children. They never even had a conversation with me. I guess because I didn't answer. I never called her back. I never texted her back. I never contacted her. And every time she came to my door, I guess nobody was home, so she couldn't contact me. So she said because I didn't make myself available, they took my kids. So yeah. Oh my God, y'all, I keep forgetting to add things. Also want to add that the incident happened on June 23rd. They did not talk to me or my children ever. And then on August 6th, they put a petition in. And then on August 8th, I got a voicemail saying I had a hearing on August 11th, on Monday. And then on Monday, August 11th, my children were removed at court. They told me I had to go to this hearing or they were going to arrest me. They were going to arrest me and then to bring the children with me. And when I brought the children with me, yeah, that's when my children were removed. So, yeah.
My name is Alicia, and I was falsely accused of harming 2 of my children by DCFS in Chicago. Not only was I falsely accused of harming 2 of my children by DCFS in Chicago, DCFS, the child abuse pediatrician that accused me for 1 of my children, and all of its constituents worked together to withhold critical medical evidence that would have not only proven my innocence, but had proven that my children were suffering from some type of genetic or metabolic bone disease process. Behind me is one critical piece of evidence. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch my story yet, it's on my page, but just to summarize, myself and my ex-husband were falsely accused of child abuse on 2 of our children at 2 separate times. On my oldest, and then 2 years after that, on my second child. At the time that we were accused with my second child, we had only had 1 unsupervised visit with my oldest child 2 days before that, and we had currently had custody of my second child. Unbeknownst to us, my oldest child received an x-ray at the same time that we were falsely accused on my second child. We were not aware that this x-ray was done, nor were we aware of the results. If you read below, my child had an old healing fracture in the 7th posterior rib. Additionally, which is much more important to the fact that she had to be suffering from some type of metabolic or genetic bone disease process, if you read below, she was found to have mild diffuse osteoporosis. To give you a bit of education about what child abuse pediatricians believe to be suggestive of non-accidental trauma versus not suggestive of non-accidental trauma when it comes to fractures and location, they state that posterior rib fractures are highly suggestive of non-accidental trauma. The problem is, if they were to date when that fracture occurred, we had no unsupervised contact with my eldest child. So what does that mean? Either 1, my child was suffering from some type of genetic or metabolic bone disease process, or much, much less likely, she had suffered non-accidental trauma at the hands of a foster parent, which I'm not saying that that is impossible, but I believe that that is highly, highly unlikely. Additionally, she was found to have osteoporosis, which is extremely suggestive of metabolic bone disease. That is not something that a child at that age, she was still a toddler at the time, should be suffering from, and she did not get any type of evaluation to see what the cause was. Once they got these results and the results didn't say what they wanted them to say, they hid this x-ray result for us to not find out about it until several years later when I had to do investigating on my own. They were looking for these results to say that she had evidence of an acute or newly healing fracture because we had only had 1 unsupervised visit 3 days prior. They wanted to use this x-ray to try to nail us in a coffin. It backfired. And it backfired because she was never harmed by myself or my ex-husband in the first place. And we said that since day one.
Let's talk about how CPS gets paid to take your kids. 600,000 children are in CPS custody at any given time in the United States. That's over 500,000 kids at any given time in state custody. Yet CPS's motto is to keep children and families together, right? Yet they're ripping children out of loving homes with parents who love and care for their kids, right? And they're federally funded to help keep these children with their parents. Yet they hardly ever actually save children who face neglect or abuse. Did you know 80% of CPS cases are unfounded for child neglect and abuse? That means 80% of all cases in CPS are unfounded. That means that someone made a call and it was bullshit. But that doesn't matter because they'll still take your kids while they're investigating, right? Did you know that $10,000 per child is what they get, right? So $10,000 per child, and they're able to, that's per placement, and they're able to move your child 3 times a year. So $10,000 per child per placement, up to 3 placements per year. So that's $30,000 per child each year. That's what they're getting. And they're getting bonuses. That is just that, right? So they can also get bonuses for placements that are non-family members. So non-relative placements, they get bonuses for that. So that means they're getting incentives to keep children with strangers and foster parents. To have non-relatives take care of these children, they're getting incentives on top of the $30,000 a year, right? Crazy. Yeah, I know. What else is crazy is that these foster families These are people that are on their feet. These are people that are successful, that have money. And if you think about it, they took children from probably a single mother, you know, who was making just a little too much money to get food stamps, cash assistance, all that good stuff. Yet this foster family, foster parents who are financially stable, have homes, all that, they're getting food stamps, they're getting WIC for the children, they're getting, you know, child care for the children for free, they're getting health care for the children for free, and they're getting up to $900 a month per child in cash on top of all of that. Why the hell are we not taking that money, those things, and putting it towards the single moms, putting it towards the single fathers, putting it towards the families, so that they can get on their feet, so that they can better themselves for their children, right? Since the motto is to keep children and families together. No, the whole point is money and separating these children from their families. Because if it was keeping them together, you wouldn't be giving some stranger foster parent $900 a month per child and all the benefits. You would be giving it to the parents so that they can better themselves, so that they can, you know, have nicer things, that they can get a house instead of rent an apartment for the rest of their lives, you know, become homeowners, stability for their children, right? It's all about money, and it's fucking sick. And you know who we have to thank? Bill Clinton, who signed the Adoption and Safe Families Act in the late 90s. Thanks, Bill Clinton, for giving fucking DCFS, CPS, whatever they want to go under, what name, child services. Thanks for giving them the right to come into our homes and steal our children and paying them to do it.
First, I'm gonna say you bogus, bro. You bogus. I don't care what situation I get with a person or how it goes. I would never in my life call the DCFS on the mother of my child. Never. Never. You wrong, bro. You are dead wrong, Tamil. You wrong. You hit me where the fuck is hurting, man. And I'm gonna tell you now, when I get my baby back, that's when you really go start hurt. And that's being for real. You and your mama was wrong. You keep on talking about my fault. You know what? Yes, it is my fault. Because I ain't had no business calling you, telling you what the fuck went on. Now, you keep on saying it's my fault. Yeah, it's my fault because I called you. And then when I called you, first thing you gonna do is just call your mama. And y'all call the DCFS. Remember now, on the process of this, you and Ashley still called the police on me 3 times. Now my baby is really in the system only because I had kicked my mom and daddy out. And then came right back to the beginning. And the beginning of this, you and your mother did this, B. Now how you really feel though? Now how you feel? Because you think I'm this drama queen woman. Yes, I do be drama over the phone, but if you was coming to see this baby before I got in this situation, I was not going to be like that. If you pulled up at this house on everything I love, I was not going to show out. I would have been more of happy because you came to see my child. You sat here and had your mama to call the DCFS on me, man. And it got worse. You really hurt me where it hurt at now. My kids, my boys, and then Kwe'n, they so innocent. They took my kids out for other people's word of mouth. And I'm up here fighting, and I'm going to continue to fight this shit. You wrong, bro. You a bogus ass nigga. I'm telling you, when I get my baby back, you're going to have to continue to fight through the system. When I get him back, you can call, you can text. I'm not going to answer. And I promise you I'm not. You going to hurt how I'm hurting. I promise you is going to hurt like I'm hurting, bro. Seriously, you wrong for letting your mama doing this. Seriously. Oh, Tamisha drama. Let me tell you something. Yeah, I am. I am when I'm tired of shit. I just don't come out with it. It take a lot for people to do me wrong, for me to do that shit. And you done did me flipped over 3 times, twice worse than what the fuck. You wrong, Tamil. You are wrong. And you was going to feel my pain when I get this baby back. Real shit, you wrong. And Ashley sitting up there like, oh, God bless her. God bless that lady. I'm serious, God gonna remove her from you pretty soon. Because you not right. You not right. You sick. Now, you sick. You sick as fuck, bro. That word your mama gave me, let me tell you something. That shit reversed it back on you. You sick. You sick. But I'm going to tell you right now, once again, when I get my baby, when I get the tortoise back, from now on, you're going to have to go through the system to see him. I'm done.
Look, recently, I had a debate with somebody about their experience with DCFS. And to people who don't know what DCFS is like, it stands for Department of Children and Family Services. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, so they call it, Department of Children and Family Services, where they put kids in group homes, shelters, foster homes. I'm not sure what they call it in other states. I know some states may call it DHS, like in Iowa or something like that. But I had a debate with a person, you know what I'm saying? And I was just telling him how corrupt DCFS is, you know, and we really had to talk because he didn't really have the worst encounter. But it was some things that we agreed on. I just want to point out, like, DCFS can't be compared to prison. And I'm going to tell you why. First off, let's start with the whole foster home thing. When you're in a foster home, you go on what you call weekly visits. You know, you get weekly visits with your mom, your brother, shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You know, siblings, just family. When you're in prison, you get weekly visits, but the only thing is people come to see you. But it's all monitored though. You know, that's one of the things that we can compare, right? Now let's talk about the group home facilities. Usually you may have 2 to a room, or you have a facility where it's like a dorm. Well, in jail or in prison, you can be on a dorm, but for the most part, usually in a 2-man cell, right? 2 to a cell. You know, I mean, let's talk about it. You know, when you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you have it in the chow hall in prison. You know, everybody comes to down there and eat. Well, in the group home facility, everybody comes to the dining hall and they eat. You know, everybody come eat together. All the guys come from their rooms and they eat together when it's chow time. At a certain time, you know, you get phone calls and stuff like that in the group home, just like you do in prison and in jail. You know, you get the phone call times, and it's timed, just like in prison and in jail. You know, even with the whole shower thing, you don't have no personal showers. People take turns going in and out of showers. Again, just like in prison and in jail. And don't run away from a group home because you may end up in a restricted facility, is what they call it, which is basically heightened security. You know, it's harder for you to run away from there. You know, it's not as easy as running away from a group home. Well, if you escape from prison, where do you go? To more of a maximum security prison, heightened security, where it's harder to escape. If you piss the staff off in a group home, you know, or they don't like you, they'll turn a blind eye to attacks in the group home, or, you know, guys ganging up on you, just like the COs would in a prison. If you piss them off, they'll turn a blind eye to other inmates attacking you. Don't go on their bad side, basically. If you get in trouble in a group home facility, you go on what they call loss of privileges. You know, in a prison, where do you go? You go to the hole. Loss of privilege. You separate from everybody else. You know, I mean, let's talk about it. We on the topic. Let's talk about it. In the group home facility, you got facilities, you know, separated by ages. Same thing with prison. You got the juvenile system, and then you got the men's prison, you know, separated by ages. And I mean, I can understand why that would be, but I'm just pointing that out, though. Being a ward of the state, I'm sorry, that's what they identify you as in DCFS. They identify you as a ward of the state. You know, whereas in prison, they identify you as property of the state. I mean, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? You are identified in DCFS by a case ID number. In prison, you have an inmate ID number. That's how you are identified. Depending on your crime, you know, in prison, depending on what you're there for, you can do so many years, you know what I'm saying, until you, like, max out, you know what I'm saying. With group homes, you can do so many years because at a certain age, certain foster parents don't want you because you so old. So you may do so many years in the group home facility if you can't go back home to your family. And then you do what they call emancipate. So it's technically like in prison, maxing out. You don't owe them nothing else. So in both situations, what do? They throw you back to the fucking streets, put you in a world unknown because you was technically like in a shell is what it's like, you know, man all fucked up. I don't know what's going on. Just thrown out there left to figure it out. But y'all telling me DCFS not corrupt though? That's never a place I want for my kids. And let's not talk about when these foster parents want to abuse you or, you know what I'm saying, do shit to you and you go back and report to your worker or to somebody in the, you know, in the facility. I'm sorry, in the agency. And we're going to look into it. But they only source is the foster parent. So they go ask, did you do X, Y, and Z to such and such? And they say no. Oh, well, Mr. Calvin, you're lying because your foster mother said she didn't do it. Well, I bet she didn't. You think she's going to admit to doing that? Let's be for real. I know people probably going to get on my shit like, oh, well, I was in foster care and I had the perfect foster mother and this and that. And no. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who've been through foster care and group homes and DCFS itself, especially in Chicago, can agree 100% with me that DCFS is corrupt. They do a lot of bullshit and they back each other. It's fucked up, man. I mean, let's talk about it, though.
My children were taken from me a little over 10 years ago, and I never got them back because I did not fight for them. I let them go with their dads full time, and I did not argue about it. During the time that I was being drugged through court by my older 2 daughters' grandparents and my second baby daddy, all 3 of them kind of did their little thing, pulling me into court, and I just allowed my daughters to go to their other family because they deserve to be in their life too. I was not going to allow myself to feel punished for having children that I dearly wanted to have. But unfortunately, drugs in the streets got to my first baby daddy real heavy, and our relationship ended due to that. And my second baby daddy, he said that he just never wanted to be with me. So that's how the cookies crumble. Everybody's case is different. But one thing I was not going to do was fight to keep my daughters out of their father's lives. And I had to take the crap end of the stick. And during that time and process, my daddy actually died. And I had to help bury him, and I no longer had the money to even attempt to pay for a lawyer. And once I got the court-appointed lawyer, the lawyer tried to talk me into arguing and fighting with my baby daddy, like to try to give bad information about him. Hey! Chill out. To try to give up bad information about him or anything. I'm like, no, he's an amazing man. He's an amazing man. I don't know what kind of father he'll be because I gave him his first child, but he's an amazing man. And when it came to my older two daughters' grandparents who were literally trying to steal them, I did not agree that my older two daughters necessarily should go with their grandparents at all. But they had a different idea because they needed the money. They actually registered to be foster parents in order to steal their grandchildren from me with the rights of their dad, because their dad is, not in his right mind. So he signed over all of his rights to his parents. So his parents took me to court, and they stood in the place of the father / foster parents. They technically didn't stand as grandparents at all. So they accomplished their goal because I did not battle. I didn't battle. That is exactly what the courts want us to do, as I tried to explain to my second baby daddy, but he did not care to listen. He made up all types of allegations against me that were completely false and lying, like he just lied. And also the grandparents also made up all types of false allegations against me in order for them to try and win their case. But due to me not battling and not fighting against it, I did take drug tests. I passed every drug test. I did not ever drop dirty for anything whatsoever. I did as much as I could to prove that I was a good mother. Stop, get off of me. How y'all fighting over me? Go sit down over there until dinner is ready. Go chill out. How you getting mad at me? Anyway. Y'all better get up off the floor and stop acting a fool. So that's that. And I actually found, so I would say 10 years, a little over 10 years, probably 11 or 12 years later, there's actually a video that breaks down everything that I was very much aware of then. But I guess I was the only one aware of it. So a lot of people continued to fall into the trap. And I was talking to The Walking Dead. So here's the video.
We're going to meet another one. That's attorney Scott Tyndall. He just filed what might be the largest civil RICO case against judges and attorneys in history. Judges and attorneys. Some of the most disgustingly corrupt parasites that exist among us. Tyndall's target is the family court system of Birmingham, Alabama. Tyndall's lawsuit names 47 different defendants, including numerous judges of the Jefferson County Domestic Relations Court. The allegations in Tyndall's lawsuit include racketeering, extortion, fraud, invasion of privacy, false imprisonment, and even kidnapping. We've talked about the CPS child trafficking racket. So what's going on in this case exactly? Well, viewers of this program can take a guess. We've spent a lot of time covering the hideous corruption of our family court system, how it snatches up vulnerable children, takes them away from their families, their parents, on the slightest pretext, even made up completely false, whole cloth pretext, just to drop them in the foster care systems that molest them and abuse them and destroy them and, yes, even kill them. Well, the biggest motivation, of course, is simply financial. More kids in the system means more federal dollars. The federal government isn't the only way that a family court system can get cash. They can also simply just extract it through extortion from its clients. According to Mr. Tyndall, the Birmingham family court system has developed into what he calls the enterprise. So, in essence, it's just a racket of legal collusion that intentionally drags out cases that lawyers can pocket more in legal fees from. Parents are basically forced to go along with things because they're threatened with losing their kids in family court disputes if they make too much of a fuss. It's one of the most appalling things that we've ever seen in our court system. And this is a country with pretty appalling courts sometimes. Scott Tyndall joins us now to talk more about this. Scott, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stu. I appreciate being on your show today and giving us a chance to tell this story.
Yeah, and please do, because I think that a lot of people don't really understand the full magnitude of what's happening here.
Yeah, it's really sad. What we have here are people who clearly know the difference in right and wrong and choose to do wrong. They're choosing to destroy families. They're choosing to abuse their positions, to abuse every bit of authority we give them in the hopes that they're going to protect families and children. And instead, they just exploit families and children for their own personal gain. And what started as what we thought was maybe an isolated incident has now turned into what we now know is what we call the enterprise. It's a criminal organization of attorneys, judges, medical providers, other people in the community who intentionally destroy families' lives with no concern for the children or the parents, solely in an attempt to make more money.
Give us some examples of some of the behavior here that we're seeing, because without going into clients' names, of course, I understand personal privacy, things like that, but what are kids actually being subjected to in real life?
So I'll give you an example of what happens. There's a client I'm working with right now that has not had overnight visitation with his child for over 4 years because his ex-spouse made up a domestic violence allegation against him. For 4 years, he has not had his day in court. He has not even had a hearing, and he can't get his name cleared and get overnight visitation with his daughter again until that's done. And it's strictly done to delay, to keep fees growing and growing, but also to serve their client and make their client feel like they're getting what they want. But what's really disturbing is most of these people in these custody battles don't want these fights. These fights are put on them by the attorneys themselves. They are creating the chaos. The analogy I use is these attorneys and judges are like firefighters who are arsonists. They like to act like they're putting out the fires, that they're such good people, that they're doing the right thing, but they're the ones that are lighting these bonfires in these families over and over again. I'll give you an example. We had a case that came to light just a few weeks ago where a couple was about to go through a divorce that really had no dispute at all. They just needed to work out the details. Both parties had agreed to that. And then the wife hires one of our defendants in our case, and that attorney milks the family for over $125,000 over 9 months, creating chaos for no reason, taking this man's children away from him for no reason. Once we filed our case, this family saw what was going on, realized that their attorney was one of these defendants. They fired that attorney, hired a new attorney. Within 8 hours of mediation, the divorce had been resolved and the family had been put back together as best as possible. I mean, divorces are tough situations, and people are trying to do the best they can for their children. And one of the things that they taught me up there that I've learned is they use this standard called best interest of the children.
Yep.
And the running joke is, in the best interest of whose children? The children in this case, or the children of the attorneys who are making all this money? And it shouldn't be that way. It doesn't have to be this way. And what I tell these clients is, this is not the way the court system is supposed to work.
So many of
This is
these
not how
people
it's
that go
supposed to
through a divorce realize that they have irreconcilable differences, and they just can't do it, whether it's being unequally yoked in faith, or if it's just ideology, or if it means toxicity, whatever it is. They go through these things, and as adults, they say, hey, we would both be happier. We would both provide a better product for our children if we were happier. We can be amicable. We can, remain friendly. We can do things in the best interest of the children in real life, make decisions together, show our children that we both love them, as much as possible, make sure that they're aware that anything that happened between the adults was not their responsibility. It was not their fault. But then, like you said, these attorneys, these bloodthirsty, money-hungry attorneys, sink their hooks into these adults and then turn them against each other in these long, drawn-out battles. And then milk them, like you said, for hundreds of thousands of dollars while putting the kids through turmoil that they have created. I mean, that's basically what you're saying.
That's exactly right, Stu. I think you nailed it on the head. And what we see from some of these families is litigation fatigue. And it's just which side is going to run out of money first. And so you see families that are having the grandparents mortgage their houses, or they're doing everything they can to come up with every penny they can because they believe they need to do this to fight for their children.
And so as hard as you work to create a financial future for your kids, that's what you're doing. That's the reason why we go to work every day, is to save, to have a nest egg, to leave an inheritance, to leave investments, to leave property, to create a life that's better for our children than what we had as children. Isn't that the general idea of parenting? And then boom, in the blink of an eye, it's all gone and in the pockets of these fat cat attorneys that are just corrupt, filthy, and criminal.
You're right. I mean, the country was founded on this principle of defining your own destiny and building something greater for a legacy for your children. And that's what parents want to do. They just want to be parents. They just want to love their children. They just want to spend time with their children. And these people are coming in and creating unnecessary chaos. And to your point, pitting parents against one another. And the people it hurts the most are the children, because now the children see their parents through this ongoing custody dispute and struggle. And depending on their age, they know more than others, but these custody disputes are dragging out for so long. Even when you start with a child that's 4 or 5 years old, and now you're 7, 8, 10 years down the road, all this child has known throughout their whole childhood is trauma. And that trauma has been brought on by the court system in ways that it wasn't built for and that are completely unnecessary.
While they
And
masquerade as being there in the best interest of the kids. It's
exactly,
projection.
yeah, it's always the best interest of the child, which is a standard that can be used in family court and sometimes is appropriate, but that's not the standard that's appropriate most of the time, and certainly not when we're dealing with custody disputes. Stu, I'll give you an example. Just in court last week, I had to stand up to one of the judge defendants in state court and tell her we were not going to accept her extortion. She was trying to extort my client in the middle of open court to get him to pay fees for a guardian ad litem with no report, with no hearing. The law requires you have a hearing before you're mandated to pay that. And this judge wanted us to pay it in open court immediately before we could start trial. Now, the defense, the other side, they did. They walked over, dropped a check right off on the GAL's desk and was all proud about it. Like they were proud to bribe the GAL in open court in front of everyone. And I just said, Your Honor, we're not going to do that. Now, this judge didn't even know what the word extortion meant. She went on to read it onto the record out loud. And I think as she was reading it, she realized that what I was saying was true. And she said, well, there has to be a threat for there to be extortion. And I said, yes, Your Honor, you're threatening me with contempt, and you're going to throw me in jail if my client doesn't pay this unethical, illegal, and unconstitutional fee.
And
And
parents are
happens to? She called
desperate
it
to do whatever
recess.
they can do to protect their children. And so, you've seen it in movie plots and screenplays. You've seen it in real life. You've seen it in our government, where I could really care less about my life. You want to threaten my life? Hey, you're going to have a hell of a fight. But if you end up taking my life, okay, I go home to heaven. But when people start threatening the loss of children, I'm going to take your child away from you. Parents will flip over backwards. They'll lay down in front of a speeding train. They'll take bullets. They'll be lit ablaze. They'll drown. They'll be beaten to death. Whatever it is, in order to protect their children and their relationship with their children, to keep their children safe, to keep their children with them, they will do anything. So it's really easy to extort, say, your client, for example, by just hinting at the threat of the loss of their children.
You're exactly right. And I can't tell you how many parents that I've met with, and especially a lot of men who just feel like they've been emasculated by this system. They feel like they were strong, tough men who get caught up in this and they have no way out. They cannot figure out how to navigate the system, and they can't figure out why they know they're a good dad. They don't understand why they're being treated that way and why they become the target and the victim. And it's because we have specific ringleaders of this enterprise, very bad people who, you use the word evil, but evil exists, and some of these people are evil, and they're coordinating it. We believe they are even coordinating outcomes of cases before they ever get to trial. Now, we filed a 186-page complaint, and we can prove every single word in that complaint. I wanted to write a 400-page complaint because I know how much else is going on, but we just don't have the proof of it yet. But all 186 pages of that complaint, we have bulletproof evidence. We have hard paper. We have data on all of these. And we're going to hold these people accountable one way
So
or the other.
if your RICO case, or I should say when your RICO case is successful, what kind of a precedent will that set for the rest of the country? Will it rattle the boots and shake the cages of, the racket that's going on in every single county, in every jurisdiction, in every state in our union?
I hope so. I hope it inspires people to come forward. People know that these rackets are happening. People have known about this one in Birmingham. They've known this was going on, but they didn't have anyone that would stand up for them. So we like to think of ourselves, my clients in this case we filed, as really the tip of the spear. And we're just trying to provide top cover for other people to come forward. And Stu, I've met dozens of families who have stories that are almost exactly like my clients. And so I would say to those people who are going through situations like this, reach out to someone, find an attorney in your jurisdiction that is willing to go help you fight, because once these bad actors are brought to light, then they're not able to do the same things they were before, when they thought they were untouched and they thought they had unilateral power to do what they want.
That's right.
But what we're finding is, by bringing attention to that, then they have to start minding their manners a lot more, and they've got to start playing by the rules.
The biggest
Just
enemy
real quick
to
finish
the
that.
darkness is the light. The biggest enemy of the empire of lies is the truth. The biggest enemy, the biggest enemy of corruption is justice. And so that we hope that you see it. I've got about 30 seconds left here. Final words.
Yeah, I was just going to say, tagging on to that conversation about the judge, after I accused her of extortion, she called a 10-minute recess. When we came back, she never brought it up again. Every clean judge in America will throw you in court. Will throw you in jail and keep you there for accusing them of extortion. And this judge chose not to. And I think that speaks volumes about what's going on in this case and what's going on all around the country.
Yeah. Don't be extorted. Don't allow yourself to be. Come forward. And if you work for one of these corrupt judges or one of these corrupt attorneys, come forward. Expose them. Be the hero that these children need in their lives. Just like Scott Tyndall, setting a precedent there for what it looks like to be a real morally upright person. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for your time.
Every time I think of that, make me wanna say, yeah. And every time I think about your love,